Yes, the other Captain Marvel movie we're getting this year. For those of you who might not know, if you didn't know this, I'd be pretty shocked. This character of Shazam used to go by the name Captain Marvel. DC didn't change the name of the character to Shazam until really recently. So two Captain Marvel movies, both coming out within weeks of each other. Which one's the better one? That's for you to decide. But here's my take on DC's version. Shazam! So Shazam is the 7th movie in the DC Extended Universe, and really it's just coming out of nowhere. In all the previous 6 DC Extended Universe films we've seen so far, there have been no references or any seeds planted for Shazam anywhere. So we have Billy Batson, played by Angel. He's a runaway kid who moves into a foster home. He's kind of a dick. And one day, for one act of kindness, he stumbles upon the wizard Shazam, played by Jaimin Hunsu, who makes him his champion. He gives him all the powers of, what was it? Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury, basically making him a superhero with almost the same powers as Superman, while also transforming him into a full-grown adult. So now he and his new friend Freddie Freeman set out on an adventure. Meanwhile, Dr. Thaddeus Sivana, played by Mark Strong, is going through his story arc. He's a big bad villain, and so Shazam has to go up against him. So what did I think of this movie? I'll be honest, from the first trailer, I was really looking forward to it, because I love that first trailer. The second trailer, not so much because it was too much like the first trailer. But I was still expecting to love this movie. I was expecting this version of Captain Marvel to be the better one. But after watching it, I can't really say it is. Whoa, hold on. Wait a minute. It's just my opinion here. Let me explain why I think what I think. I enjoyed the movie enough, but there were enough problems for me to go, well, that could have been better. I mean, Angel as Billy Batson, I don't even know if he's a likable character, because the first time you see him in this movie, he does something kind of dick. I was like, this kid's kind of an ass. This is the kid you're choosing to be your champion, Shazam? I thought it was supposed to be someone pure of heart. You know, like Power Rangers and shit. However, when he does become Shazam and Zachary Levi takes over, it becomes pretty clear that Zachary Levi had no clue he was being filmed throughout this entire movie. He is literally a man-child, and it is fun to watch, I'm not gonna lie. But one of my worries going into this movie was that I was gonna watch Zachary Levi and be like, is that the same character? Is that still Billy Batson inside? I didn't want Angel and Zachary Levi to act like two different people, because it seemed like Billy Batson was like a serious kid who didn't have much of a sense of humor, and Zachary Levi looked like he was having a ball the entire time. And yeah, there were a couple of times where I was like, yeah, it does feel like they're two different people, but for the most part, I actually did believe that Zachary Levi was playing Angel, Billy Batson. That did work for me. Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddie Freeman is the character I relate the most to, because he's a superhero fanatic. He's, you know, the friend character in this movie who's testing out all Shazam's powers with him. At a point, you know, he's listing off all these possible powers that he could have, like super speed, super strength, teleportation, eye lasers, who knows what he has. Some people might find Freddy annoying. I didn't, because I just saw myself in him. I look forward to seeing Jack Dylan Grazer in more movies. He was great in It, and he was great in this movie. But Mark Strong as the villain Dr. Thaddeus Sivana was the one where I was like, well, it's not that Mark Strong is a bad actor, because he's not. He's great in the Kingsman movies. Watch him in those. It's just that I don't think Mark Strong makes a good villain, because not only does he come off as extremely emotionless, like he's a completely one-note character, but he was also pretty poorly written. And that is what will bring me to the movie's biggest flaw, in my opinion, is the script. I wasn't a huge fan of how this whole movie was written, really, and it's kind of making me sound pretentious, but here's what I mean. There is one big reason I didn't like the writing in this movie, and here it is. You know how sometimes when you're watching an action movie for the first time, and there'll be a moment where you're like, that's not what would happen in reality. That's just not realistic at all. But you let it slide because you're having fun with the movie? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, the first couple times that happened, I let them slide because I was having fun with a superhero comic book movie. But moments like that kept adding up to the point where I was like, this entire movie is just not realistic. I mean, as realistic as it was setting out to be. Characters in this movie were making terrible decisions. Why? Because the script said they had to. Because in order for this to happen in the story, this character has to do something that's not their character. Example, without any spoilers, there's a scene where a bad guy is trying to take something from a good guy. And the good guy has the opportunity to stop him. He could just blast him whenever he wants. But he doesn't. He's just like, wait, stop, don't. I was just like, you have the power to stop him right now. You could do it. But he doesn't, because this has to happen in the story. And I kept seeing moments like that throughout, like, the entire first half of the movie. They lessened in the second half. There were a couple in the second half, but there were not as many in the second half as there were in the first half. But the sad truth is, first impressions are everything. This movie's first impression on me was that thing that just happened is not realistic at all. And it took me out of it. It took me out of the movie. I wasn't as engaged in this movie as I thought I would be because of the script. Now, that being said, if you can just go into this movie and turn off your brain, kick up your feet, and have a good time, you absolutely will have a good time. Because it is a fun movie. Don't get me wrong, this movie's not completely terrible. There is enjoyment to be had. The humor's really funny. In fact, this is probably the funniest of all the DCEU movies so far. There are pop culture references all over the place. Some made me laugh out loud. And I also really like the end. Again, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the end, the final throwdown, was total superhero cheesiness. I loved it. Because the movie realizes its absurdity and it just flies into it. Shazam is fighting Dr. Sivana and other things are happening. No spoilers. And it was fun action superhero nonsense, but I'm a superhero fan, so Forgive me, I had fun with it. I also really like the lore that this movie introduces. You know, the wizard Shazam and his background, like where he comes from, this council of wizards or whatever it is he said, the whole Solomon through Mercury thing. And I also really like the source of the villain's power. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I thought it was really clever. That must have been around in the comics for decades, but props to that in this movie. The score of this movie was composed by Benjamin Wallfish, who also did the movie It, and you know, the score in this movie, it was a good superhero theme. I liked it. It wasn't as bad as the generic score that Giacchino did for Spider-Man Homecoming. It was better than that. I mean, since this movie's still a couple weeks out, we don't have an official soundtrack yet, but I am looking forward to listening to that theme again, because it's not bad. So in the end, Shazam had fun characters, some good humor, and good action scenes, but the really unrealistic script just brought the movie down to such a degree for me, I can't deny it. Again, I walked into this movie expecting to love it, and for me to walk out going, I mean, what a bait and switch. Again, I liked Marvel's Captain Marvel more than this. I liked Aquaman way more than this. I know my followers were probably looking forward to me superhero fanboying out about this movie because that's generally what I do. But I don't know, this movie didn't make me feel that way. For Shazam, I will say, wait until this movie's at a discount theater, then go see it. I'll dive more into the script problems I had in a spoiler video I do in a couple weeks when this movie comes out. And yes, there's a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene. And I actually like that post-credit scene, so stick around after the credits. So Shazam, I can't ask, have you seen it yet, because it's not out for a couple weeks. So I'll ask, what are your expectations for Shazam? Whatever they are, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.